Welcome to the first official About the Touts. We're on Pete's channel tonight. Moving forward, we'll have our own channel, but we're excited to talk about the fourth episode. We had the duo week. We heard from the ETR bros. We had some scores. We've got a live vote. We've had some eliminations. Pete, how are you feeling? There must be some stress like before we get the premiere, and then as the comments load in, like how are we feeling?
Yeah, it's a wild thing because we spend so much time working on these episodes. We've obviously known behind the scenes like how this stuff is shaking out, orchestrating the prisoner's dilemma, making sure Hartman doesn't spill the details. And so we kind of have ideas of how we think people will react to it. And some of our guesses are like spot on, and sometimes we're just like wildly off base. So yeah, it's like this whirlwind of emotions of seeing how everybody receives things. And I think what's been cool about today in the show is just people are so passionate about it. And I've seen a couple comments where like, I know it's good for the show that for people to be emotional about it in one way or the other, but God, I'm fucking mad right now. And on the one hand, I want to be like, chill out. On the other hand, I'm like, no,
keep going. Keep stoking it.
Yeah.
I was watching along for the premiere, and the live chat was pretty funny too, because they were getting fired up and like, oh, really? That's the score we're given? So it was fun to see people pretty fired up. So we're going to hear from some people a little bit later today. We'll have some guests be joining us throughout the show who have been participating or have participated in So You Think You Can Tout. Has there been any sort of reaction from today's episode that surprised you? Like, did you have I imagine as you're like in the editing bay and going through all of this stuff and having got like, what the scores already, I imagine you have some sort of idea of how you think people are going to react. Was there any sort of like surprise after the episode came out?
Not like in a lot of ways, the people who, what's kind of interesting about the show right now is like, we're obviously trying to grow it. We want this to have appeal to a wider audience. So it makes sense right now that a lot of the strong reactions are from contestants' existing fan bases. And we're going to talk to Trevor and Chad tonight, their fan base, very upset. And Chad is someone who streams every day. He's built a loyal following. Everyone fucking likes Chad. Like even Trevor's going to come on after having their submission sunk and he's going to say, Chad is awesome. That's just who he is. So that doesn't surprise me, right? Like, of course you're going to be mad when one of your favorite streamers get voted off. Obviously from the production side, I think they're being extremely biased and not seeing the overall thing. But man, as far as surprises, to me, one of the fun things is a lot of people came in with preconceived notions about some of these contestants. And part of that is because all they've seen from them on camera is very limited. Right. Neil Farley, the way he got in, Tony Squares, who's been a little absent since he got lock status. And then to see, Silva and Levitan respond to them and to watch the audience in real time be like, oh, wait, maybe there is something there. Maybe I shouldn't have left them for dead in this competition is one of the coolest 180s for us to watch.
Yeah, it's been fun watching people react to it, and it feels like for the most part, it's been like justice for so and so, and less being like shitting on someone who has gotten through. You know what I mean? Versus like how dare you get rid of Rick when clearly so and so should be bounced, which I think is good. Like that to me, like there's a fine line of we don't need to be dunking on people. Like if we can do this in a way of just lifting people up, I think that's fun. But I found it interesting today, and we'll talk to some of the people that got knocked out. And if you have not watched the episode yet, this is insane to start with this. This will be just
truly insane.
It would be truly insane, and maybe you're like, oh, it's live, I need to watch it live. I strongly encourage you to go watch the episode first, because I am going to spoil all of the stuff for you. But we saw Candles and Trev both get bounced. We saw Rick and Jared both get bounced. We saw our guy Heartline get bounced, and then we get a live vote going between the guy from the Bear, Rambus, and Cubs going on right now. But I forgot where I was going to go with that because I was so nervous. Not nervous. I was so making sure that I wasn't spoiling it for people. The thing that I was surprised by today was how many people and how many groups, both guys decided let's do a bit at the top. And I actually thought that Neil and again, you're going to have to help me with some of the names Tony Squares. I actually think they stood out just by not doing, like, they still had a bit, but it was a little bit more, it was a little bit closer to what you normally see in a stream.
Yeah.
And I think they stood out because they were closer to what we've normally seen versus some of the other stuff that we saw today.
Yeah, it's interesting because, in a weird way, the reason the challenge is hard is because we can't have everybody submit an hour video of everybody collaborating. Nobody has the time for that. So we're basically asked them to condense their skill set and essentially, what they want to be judged on into a 4-minute window. So going with highly edited things, catching our attention from that angle, I get it. But from a sustainability standpoint, from what could they actually continue doing? Like the goofy submission for us, why it was so low is like, this is great, but what would you guys do week in and week out? Like if every single week you guys were getting on camera 3 times a week, could you do that? And so they were able to kind of push the vagueness of the prompt in a way that worked out for them because it resonated with one of the judges. And that actually, I do want to get into like the idea of entertainment versus fantasy advice, but I do want to address this comment here from JT in the chat. He says, moving forward, do you think future judges need a tad more guidance on what you and your team are looking for? I don't think a Cups versus Rambus elimination is what's best for the show. First of all, I love the passion from this, but if the goal was for me to just pick who I liked and wanted to do a show with, I would quit this entire show and just pick a few people to do stuff with me. The judges have to matter. The challenges have to matter. If those things don't matter, there's no show. So there's going to be variance. Just like in a poker tournament, Mike, does the best poker player always win? The reason this is interesting is because of the week-to-week variance. And you see it across all kinds of game shows, right?
Absolutely.
Did the best performer win Survivor this year? No, like Cerise should have won Survivor. She was like the kingpin there. Was it best for the show that she got voted out? No, but we're talking about it right now, which means it was best for the show. And the fact, JT, that you're even asking, is this what's best for the show, tells me it was what was best for the show.
And it's funny not to compare you to Kevin Hart, but Kevin Hart has his like comedy competition show. I think it's just called like funny. Kevin Hart is funny AF or whatever the competition show is. But they had like specific challenges in it where like one of them, these stand-ups from New York, Chicago, LA, all over competing, and like you get to a specific round and it was a roast. Like the round was a roast, and it's like that's not what normal stand-up is. That's like a very specific thing, and that people who are A+ stand-up comics got eliminated because they weren't good at that specific thing, which I think is kind of like what this show is doing, where you put these specific challenges in front of the contestants, and even though they could still be very talented and should continue to make content, they didn't do what they were supposed to do, or didn't do it as well enough or as well as the other contestants, that they get bounced. And that's just, like, you can't have everybody win, otherwise what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, and you could even go, I keep thinking about Nathaniel because I can't emphasize enough how close he was from not making that initial cut. And it was literally a little smirk from Mayo that was like, wait a second, maybe there's something here. And who he's become is so wildly different from the submission. All of us were almost completely deprived of ever getting to know Nathaniel. That's how thin the margins are on a show like this. And so the margins are going to be thin in a contest. Like everyone loves Goofy and Mitchell. If they had not gotten that 10 from Silva, that would have pushed them into bubble territory. They would have gone to a fan vote or the prisoner's dilemma. One of them would have been gone. And Mitchell and Goofy have been two of the most popular front runners in the show. And everyone would have been like, what? Goofy's gone? Mitchell's gone? But because Silva was being a horn dog, they're safe. The margins are really thin on this show.
It's a great comment by Mike. And I was trying to watch it, and I saw you this weekend, and you kind of gave me some wink wink nudge nudge of like where things were going, but I didn't know like who was going in and out. And I thought when I was watching Goofy and Mitch, I thought they were getting bounced as I was watching and I was like, this video is really cool. But it's like they were submitting to a very different contest. It was like they were submitting to Just for Laughs in Montreal. Like, this is a very different thing. And so I was surprised at the responses that they got from the judges, because I didn't think Silva was as horny as he was. And that's not even to say that it's not like I was like, oh, this was not a good submission. It just wasn't the submission that you had asked for. So it is. It reminds you just like how subjective a lot of this stuff is too. Yeah.
Do you know what? You'll appreciate this. Everybody maybe gets sick of you and me talking some improv shop every once in a while. But what the Mitchell and Goofy thing reminded me of, so there's a thing in improv, like when you're a beginner improviser and you're doing like scene work, the temptation is to talk about what you're doing in the scene. Mike and I are both janitors. I'm like, hey man, I'm going to mop up the gym. And you're like, all right, I'm going to mop up the teacher's lounge. And then you're like, hey, we're out of soap over here. Can you go fill? That we don't want to talk about what we're doing. We want to talk about our relationship. We want to talk about why one of our wives is cheating on us. And that's the heart of the scene. But guess what? We're doing janitor things while we are doing the scene because we're janitors and we're doing that. And so what I wanted from the Goofy and Mitchell thing was like, you guys just pulled off the mind-blowing thing of being together. No one else had it. And if you would have just done the straight submission, talking fantasy football stacks while bopping around town, while being together, everyone the whole time would have been like, wait, no, they're together. They're together.
Right.
They made the whole thing about being together and it almost cost them their security in the game.
And this is nitpicking. Like, I do think even what they did was good. Like, I'm not saying what anybody did was bad, but it was like, you already won us over with this thing. And then instead of like doing some other stuff with it, you just kept being like, See, look at us. Yeah. We're together. Did you see we're together? And so, yeah, I'm with you. I was kind of hoping that we were going to see it pushed to a different thing, but it still was super fun. I am excited to hear from people. Like, I don't know what the social reaction has been or on the comments or anything like that from contestants who have been eliminated, but I'm curious if anyone and we'll ask, but after seeing the episode and seeing what other people have done, if they were like in their head a little bit about it and like, oh man, we probably should have approached this differently, or if people feel that they went about it the right way, just didn't execute it appropriately.
Well, isn't it funny to think there was like essentially 3 levels to how I think these duos would have changed their strategy? There was getting the initial prompt. They don't know who the judges are. You know, I did think that there weren't going to be as many bits because we came out of the Mayo episode saying, don't do as many bits. We want to know who you are. We want to get a vibe for how you interact in various scenarios, and people still over-index on bits. So that actually surprised me. I was like, I thought the pendulum would swing back in the other direction after all mail feedback. That did not fucking happen. However, then you get the element where Silva and Levitan are surprisingly on board with some of the bits.
Couldn't believe it.
Dude, this got cut from the episode. But when I watched the submissions, knowing Silva and Levitan would then be seeing them, I started going, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. They are going to be so mad that I dragged them into this. They're going to hate every single one of these. Oh, my God, this is going to be so painful. I was like nervous for that recording. And then they were so game for it.
For everything.
And if you would have told the duos that it was Silva and Levitan, I guarantee all those submissions don't look like that. I guarantee it. So what a roller coaster to go from not knowing to knowing, and then actually some of the bits played. It was crazy.
Yeah, I was stunned by just knowing who those guys are. I really did not see. Even when there was a couple of times where Levitan didn't like one of them, or he was like, I totally see why this would work. It's just not for me. I'm like, man, I want this guy as a boss. I want him reviewing me. I'm like, I thought that was wild. I'm trying to think of other specific moments that might have stood out while I was just as somebody who was consuming it, that stood out for me while I was watching. And I was so surprised too by how many of the submissions were pre-recorded, like it not necessarily recorded together. You know what I'm saying? Where it was like, I'll record my bit, you record your bit, we'll edit it together.
Yeah, that for me was another thing, and I brought that up with a few of them. Obviously, we'll talk to Chad and Trevor here in a bit, just to give you guys an idea on the lineup. We're going to have Brian Hartman at 8:30. We're going to have Chad and Trevor around 8:45. Rick at 9 and Jiri at 9:10. So if you're here just for the exit interviews, sit tight. They'll be coming. But sorry, now I lost my thought. What did you ask?
No, just the idea of like, this whole idea of duo, to me, when you say we're doing a duo, it's all chemistry built, right? It's like, how are you interacting with your scene partner, for lack of a better phrase? And I was surprised how many of them were. And I mean, granted, you still had to work together to come up with the bit and like kind of script out how that was going to go. But I was surprised how much of it was like, I'll record my shit, you record your shit, we'll edit it together. Or in the Rambus Cubs situation, Cubs will edit it.
Yeah, no, I was hoping for way more of the interaction. Like you can look at our production team scores here. So Squares and Farley, yes, it was edited, but back and forth talking to each other. PPR and O'Hara essentially doing a podcast together that they cut a highlight reel talking to each other. Cups and Rambus, who was actually our 4th highest score, talking to each other, having a conversation. And then Emo Cowboy and Nathaniel Wright were the other one that got a high score. It was really the only bit submission that wasn't 2 people interacting, just because the production, the concept and stuff were a step ahead of the other bits. But there was an opportunity to score really high just by showing us, hey, if we had an hour podcast, would it be a good hang? I think people watching PPR Tyler and Michael O'Hara are like, yeah, I'd tap in and watch you guys talk ball. And I'm surprised more people didn't go that avenue.
Yeah, and I think you did kind of call it out. I think Levitan did as well, where it is really hard when you're like, okay, we need to create this is our first time doing this. We need to create a 4-minute video, and we need to, not only do we need to create this 4-minute video, it needs to pop better than the other 4-minute videos. And so I can understand the pressure of being like, let's think outside the box. We'll come up with this bit. We'll do this weird stuff. We'll do role reversal weird stuff. I totally get the nod to do that, but I am curious after watching it, after the contestants watched it, if they were like, oh man, I wonder if we played this, not like down the middle. I think you still need to be performative. And I think we actually talked about this on an After Dark episode. Like you need to move the dial into a performance space, but making it a little bit more grounded in like an elevated version of who you are is kind of like what you're trying to do. But again, in 4 minutes, that's like a pretty tall task.
For sure. Yeah. And that's why, like, I'm not, I'm sympathetic to the people who went the really highly produced bit route, because at the very least it gets people talking. And because the worst thing you could do would be to do a talking head thing that bombs. Like
right.
PPR
Absolutely.
Tyler and Michael O'Hara. I mean, they had a premise. They were showing some film and stuff, but it was the most talking head, I think, of all the submissions, them and also Alex Cups and Rambus. Why were those carried, at least with our production scores? Because of charisma, and what's cool about charisma is that's translatable. It's scalable. They could do that in all kinds of different environments.
Yeah. Do you know, and again, I'm not trying to nitpick every submission. One of the things,
that's literally the goal of this. I know, but scores. I
want to build up a little bit more, but Cups and Rambus, do you know the thing that stood out to me the most that was driving me insane was not the person's, I'll get over that. That's a learned thing. It was not the person speaking, but the person reacting. And they were reacting and listening so much that it was a distraction for me, where I'm like, and they both did it. To their credit, they both did it. So it wasn't like just one did it. But Rambus would be giving his take, and Cups would be like, yeah. And then when Rambus was like going back side to side, I'm like, God, just let this guy cook. All you have to do, you have to be an active listener, but not an ADD listener, I guess.
It's funny, right? Because in that instance, you're trying so hard to show the rapport.
Right.
Another example of that, while we are nitpicking, like one of the things I liked least about the Farley and Squares submission was the extended Squares laughing at the orange juice in toothpaste joke, where that's a clear chuckle. Like, it's a clever line. We all know why that taste doesn't mesh well, and you give it a smirk and you move on. And we got a full extended cut of like Squares belly laughing.
Yeah.
Now, maybe that did really get him that good, but it came across as like an overly forced reaction to a joke that wasn't that good. Now, did it accomplish the objective, which is showing, hey, we're vibing together? I don't just think this dry guy is completely lame, but there is something about the audience can naturally sniff out when something isn't disingenuous, just like that. Like, okay, I'm not nodding at every single word you say. Like, that's not how things look in real life. And the audience is always going to pick up on that.
Right. Every single time they're going to pick up on it. And I mean, it did play well for that one specifically, because they led in with the confessional that was like, this dude's dry as fuck. Then for the joke to land, I mean, it did play well. It did feel a little elevated, but not as bad. I'm seeing a lot in the chat too that are blaming the emails. That the emails were saying they're butthurt emails, but are saying like the creativity was emphasized. So maybe that's why they took out a crystal ball and a wrestling outfit.
It's so funny how that gets distorted, right? Because I said this in the video with Silva and them. Like, creativity is literally just not doing what a million other fantasy podcasts have done, right?
Yeah.
Like, what Neil in Squares did was hyper creative. Very creative. It was like a guessing game with that. Like, show me any other shows in the fantasy best ball space that are doing like a stats-based guessing game. Boom, like already creative without being over the top. And so I think people get so in their head about the bar for creativity. And because 95% of podcasts are talking head podcasts, you don't have to do that much to be creative, and it makes it more sustainable because the stuff. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
No, go. Keep going.
No, I was just going to say the reason I think your barometer for what's a good creative idea is, could you keep doing this over and over again? Because guess what? In the content game, you're going to have to keep doing it over and over again. And if you don't think you could produce that video 3 to 4 times a week, 52 weeks a year, that it probably isn't sustainable.
Do you know what I wonder too? And there's no way to get the answer to this, but as you were talking about it and thinking about the submissions, like if, say, I'm just going to do this to make fun of Davis, but I think Davis is very engaging and fun. But do you think there's like, if Davis was hosting this competition, if people would try a little less to be funny? Do you know what I mean? Because it is you hosting, who is someone that like brings a lot of comedy to whether even when you're doing your straight hosting stuff, I think you bring like a funny presence to your content. I wonder if people are like trying to play to the host a little bit more with if you were getting Dry Davis or and again, I'm just making fun of Davis.
I don't think there's anything such as Dry Davis, but yeah. No, well, that was my thought with the initial submissions. And, there was a lot of comments like, oh, I didn't know Mayo was going to be reviewing this. I thought I was just trying to impress Pete, which fair. But then we told, we want to talk about the email. There was going to be an undisclosed duo. And it's funny too, because, Mitch in his confessional that was in the episode, he said, I called this all along. It was going to be Evan Silva and Adam Levitan.
Right.
So to me, if you were in that headspace and that's how you were approaching it, then that's a pretty wild read on those two duos, if you were correct on predicting that. And so I think the fact that you should have been on high alert of, hey, Pat Mayo just reviewed this. We have duos, who are some big duos in the fantasy space. I'm not going to, mention other ones that we might have considered for this episode. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but yeah, you should have been in the mindset of like, how is this going to read to other people? Are there two iconic comedic judges in the fantasy space that you would have been pandering to with a bit submission? I don't know.
Yeah. And again, Davis was the first name that I thought of. I think Davis is wonderful. So just if anybody thinks I'm dunking on Davis. That is, I was just thinking about it though. I was wondering if people were trying to bring some more comedy to it. And yeah, as I was seeing Lou's comment in the chat too. Yeah, Evan's scores were all, I thought Evan and Adam seemed like they had a great time doing it. And I always think of them with some, a little side of curmudgeon in some of their content. And for them to just be so positive and just happy to be there, it was great.
Well, do you know what's so funny too? There's been this arc with Silva. So there's, for people who, I'm sure a lot of people in the chat remember it, but there was what's considered the worst/best episode of the randomizer ever was when I had Evan Silva on. Yes. This had to have been, I don't know, 3-4 years ago at this point. Least. And he basically nagged me on every suggestion. I've never had a guest who was so unwilling to play ball with the prompts. And people loved it because it was like a train wreck or whatever. But that was kind of the Silva I think a lot of people still envision in these scenarios. But I will say Silva is a completely different person in these past year or two, even starting when we did the Fantasy Feud on my channel as well. There's stories of Silva watching episodes of Ship Chasing, watching Best Ball Bros. Like, he is softened up in a way that even though he's still a ball knower through and through, I think he loves the bigger tapestry of entertainment within the fantasy football world. And because he's so steeped in the hardcore X's and O's stuff, I think he has come to appreciate a lot of the bits in a way that was maybe even surprising for the audience to see pan out in his judging.
That's great. I love that. I love that the softening of Silva over time is pretty fun. And I agree with Jason. Time for round 2 of Silva on the randomizer. I think
but would it have I don't know if it had the legs now. He's such a softie. He'd probably be dancing around.
He'd be too engaged, man. He'd be too excited to do it.
Yeah, exactly. What were your, let me as someone who wasn't, behind the scenes working on it, what were some of your big takeaways for it? I mean, we haven't even talked about the prisoner's dilemma yet between Hartman and Zach. I know you think through some game theory elements there. Did you have a read on how that should have gone down?
I know I think if you had asked me how it was going to go down before it was revealed, that's exactly how I would have pictured that going down. It seemed like that. It seemed like Heartline, and I appreciated the dialogue after, and I like that you brought both of them on together. I really enjoyed that conversation. I like that everybody seemed to understand everybody's position. There was like no hard feelings. It was truly a game theory thing. I did. I appreciated it. I did. It seemed like I'm blanking. I'm so sorry. I'm blanking on
Hartman
Hartline
and Zach.
and Zach. You could tell that Zach was going to come in with that. Like the second it was posed to him, he was like, "Yeah, man, see you later." He's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Part of me, it would have been interesting to see how a bunch of these duos handled that same dilemma there. We obviously did it with them because they were on the bubble. You can see here on screen, they had the 6.9, Cups and Rambus 6.1, put them firmly in this middle tier. There were 4 that were above 7.5. There were 2 below 5.4. So you had these 2 here in the middle. But obviously the Hartman and Zach, from their confessionals, they were the most maybe in disagreement on how things went. And even after everything went down, Zach, like the last thing he says to Hartman is, "I always hated our submission." And Hartman's like,
"Yeah, where was that?"
Said something. Yeah, when we were collaborating.
My favorite thing from that confessional was Hartman saying, I think I've called him Heartline, by the way, like the entire
Brian
time. Yeah, I think I've called him Heartline. Yeah. Which shout out to Fantasy Football Comedy Hour. That was the first thing I thought of.
I was going to say Heartline Bling. One of the original parody songs.
But I really appreciated that moment of him saying like, where was this information would have been helpful. And now I'm blanking on what the hell I was originally going to bring up. There was like 2 good points that he made during. I like that he was like, everyone else is lying. Like they're not being truthful with you, that this was just so easy. Like there's no way. And I was even seeing some comments from Emo Cowboy in the chat as we were doing this, like, and they had some like disagreement beforehand as they were like figuring out. So I do agree with him that it's probably because this is also, it's not just like the 2 of us need to succeed. It's like we both need to succeed, but I also want to make sure I succeed a little bit better than you succeed.
Well, look at this. I mean, Emo and Nathaniel advanced. They had the 4th highest score. They had the 3rd highest score from the production team. And Emo still throwing Nathaniel under the bus, saying, I pitched to go straight down the middle and my partner wanted to go big. He won't even say his fucking name. These guys are still going after each other after having a successful submission, which is hilarious.
I mean, to be fair, it's June 1st. It's Pride. So maybe he's referring to his partner. Maybe he's just using like the correct terminology.
You're right. Yeah, it is June. Derogatory.
But I do kind of agree with Hartman that I think that there was probably more like you don't even want to say that you had a tough time either. Not even a tough time in the sense that where I don't like working with this person, but it's like this. Not only we have to like figure this shit out in a short amount of time, and we're competing against each other. I think is a tough thing to figure out. So I kind of agree with Hartman that there would be a little bit more to it. But I loved it. I feel like it puts pressure on you. I'm sure you've already thought this through for future episodes, but you are now like 2 for 2 in twists. And so I think there's a lot of pressure to make sure you still have like a change up to throw here towards the end of each episode.
Well, what matters, right? Like we know this from improv, you watch any TV show, you watch anything, relationships matter. Yeah. And coming out of duo week, not only do we have concrete relationships, these people who worked together, but now we have a lot of other elements to play with. Like, do we have alliances being formed? Are there soft spots with these guys now? Like, I think it's hard to come out of duo week and not have some level of affinity for your partner, assuming you advanced, right? And so this was a pivotal episode for us for laying the groundwork for more relationships on the show, because obviously that's going to come into play as we get down to the nitty gritty. They had to work together to advance this time, but this is a winner take all contest, and that won't always be the case.
And I'm thinking about like looking at this list of people, which again, I love that I was saying Heartline when I can see his name on the screen in front of me. But like looking at these duos, I'm seeing Mitchell and Goofy. Were they the only 2 to like advance and kind of just vibe the whole time? I mean, I guess PPR Tyler and Michael O'Hara too.
Yeah, I didn't hear any kind of basically we asked all of these guys for confessionals after, and we asked them to score their partner 1 to 10. What was so interesting is the scores were always higher than the actual sentiment, right? So like the other thing that was pretty mirrored is the teams that got high scores kind of felt that they did well and gave each other pretty glowing reviews. And it was the people in the middle in these bottom, 4 to 5 teams that did have just like a little bit, like I might give you a 7.5, but if we're being honest, like if it was awesome, I would have just given you a 10. And that 7.5 is actually doing a lot of work. So the number was actually a little deceptive relative to how you could tell they actually felt.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm curious. I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want it to influence any voting at all. But I'm fascinated to see how the Cups Rambus thing plays out, and I do enjoy it's been like a consistent dialogue now about like Rambus being somebody who would be awesome to come on as a guest. And I feel like that has come up multiple times now, right? Where it's no one's like, oh, you know who should absolutely host the show? Rambus. They're like, no, you know who would be like great to come in and throw a fastball here for a minute and a half? Rambus.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we always knew Rambus was going to be the most polarizing player in the competition, and you either love him or hate him. And I kind of like how the Silva and Levitan score really reflected that sentiment. Now, I will say, Rambus was picking up fans quickly after his After Dark appearance, after stuff. So he was, I think, winning people over. But I think how the general fan would process him is truly reflected by the Silva and Levitan score. And you can see us in between here, like, our team likes him. Like, people were accusing me, Mike, early on before they got to know Rambus. They're like, Peter just has a soft spot for Rambus. Like, this guy's not going to work out. People were accusing me for that, and now they're mad that Rambus and Touts is on the chopping block. So that's just how things go.
That's so funny. Yeah, I mean, Rambus was my favorite submission only because it was just nuts. Like it was, and every time I see him, I do find myself still wanting to see more, while also feeling like maybe he shouldn't win this competition. But I'm like, I want more. I do want more. But I don't know if he ranks up against everybody else.
And let's just say this too, right? I mean, this goes without saying, but maybe it doesn't. And right before we bring Hartman on, like I said this to someone in a reply on Twitter who was like devastated about the cuts tonight and the exit interviews we're going to do. And they're like, lots of talented people that you just cut. And I'm like, no fucking shit. Yeah. Everyone who made it to the top 16 is talented. Now, do they have different skill sets? Do they have different lanes they can occupy? Everyone who made it this far is talented. They have the juice in some way or another. And I hope all of them continue to make content. I hope they take the feedback and drill down into the things that they can do well and really succeed. So, in the show, we have the line, we don't think you could tout, because that's the fucking show. But obviously these people should continue. Obviously they should use it as a springboard to future success.
Everybody should. I just real quick, Gumby saying I'd scroll for hours watching TikToks of Rambus giving takes about fantasy football while killing bugs. 100%. I would be so down for that. I would be taking. I subscribe, like and subscribe. The other thing I wanted to say, and I don't know if you have like an Amazon wish list, a store, or any sort of kickbacks here, Pete. But anyone that is still in the contest right now, whether you are doing stuff like from your desk or you're doing stuff out and about, you just have to get a microphone. You got to do it. You got to do it. From here on out, I feel like the thing that would take me out of every video today, every submission, the second the audio gets a little funky, I'm scrolling. I'm doing something else because it kicks me out every single time. Like you can get by with the fuzzy webcam. That's fine. Like I'll deal with the audio. I mean, with the video. The audio, though, you will lose people so fast. So like if you haven't done it yet, go get a Blue Yeti. Go do whatever you need to do. Get a microphone.
That's the thing with anything, part of one of the prizes for winning the show is you're going to get a stipend from me to upgrade your whole setup. It is not a requirement to be a good content creator to have a world-class setup. It is a requirement to have a bare minimum setup where you see, like, if something takes somebody out, and like you said, even video quality you can kind of get by with. You don't need the professional lights, yada, yada. But yeah, if the sound is bad, you are going to alienate people quickly, especially in long form stuff. Like, I will tell you this, we have been getting hammered over on ADP chasing because the levels with Jacob's mic and Davis's mic are at completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Yep. We haven't like figured it out yet for whatever reason. And people go fucking nuts in the comments about it. So yes, it can sink you with the fans.
It drives me insane when I see it. Also, one more thing, and then we're going to bring on our first guest. Yeah. Speaking of the audio, going back to Goofy and Mitchell, what I wanted to see when the rain was falling down, as the camera started to pan up, I thought they were outside of it, like they were underneath an outside shower.
Like, you thought it was gonna be like a notebook scene?
Yeah. I didn't think it was real rain. I did not think it was real rain just because of the audio. Anyways, all right, we are going to bring on our first exit interview. We're bringing on the man that I referred to as Heartline for the first 20 minutes of this episode. Let's get Hartman on here and talk about his experience. Man, how are we doing?
Still not making the impression. I see it clearly, you know.
It's not your fault. I promise. It's not your fault. How are we holding up now that we have taken in the video? We've seen it played back. How are we feeling?
Well, at this point, it's been almost 5 days that I've had to digest it. So I got to have my time, got to be a little pissy for a few days, move past it, and we're ready to keep rolling.
In like the aftermath of it, has there like, and just talking about the submission, forget the prisoner's dilemma. We can skew or repeat for that here in a little bit, but just like the submission in itself, how are you feeling about like the procedure and how we did it, and then comparing it to like seeing everybody else's stuff out there? What was that kind of experience like for you?
Let's start with annoyed, I guess.
Yeah,
because I mean, ultimately, like I said, half those guys are lying. Like there's no, we haven't done group projects in decades plus for some of us. There's no way y'all are meshing together that well. And like, I feel like I am somebody who can usually work well with just about anybody. You know, sometimes there's pushback and there's a lot more pressure on this because it's not like, oh, I can just kind of fold a little bit. Like, no, I wanted to make sure it was good. And like Zach, I initially brought a dating show recap episode was what I initially saw for this. I couldn't relay that to Zach where he saw it, so he came back with like a Shark Tank idea. Okay, cool. Tell me about this. Well, as he started to explain the whole situation, I don't think he realized Shark Tank in Canada must be a little different because he was like us proposing two different ideas, blind resume style. I didn't mind the core of the idea, but the way it was presented, it was awful. And I was like, we almost also have 4 minutes. There's no way we can both present two different ideas. We guess it. Then we have to switch roles. I'm like, we need something more fluid that lets us just kind of push through. And we went through so many damn ideas. We finally, or I came on the TikTok shop one, or the QVC is what was my initial, inspiration to it. And he's like, I kind of like it, but what if we did like a stock exchange episode? I'm like, oh yeah, like everybody else that freaking has a show that does a stock episode, like we need to go outside of the box a little bit. And at the end of the day, I did all the editing. I did a lot of that stuff. I got the okay from him. I take it on me, whether he chose me or not. It ultimately came down to our submission. If it was better, I wouldn't have been in that position.
Can I ask you, one of the things I've started to hear a few people talk about, like, tossing a bunch of ideas back and forth. I haven't heard anyone talk about the strategic elements of like what you guys thought who you might be judged by, what would play well, what wouldn't. I've just heard everyone tossing ideas around, like strategically, what were some of the conversations you guys had?
So Zach didn't want to do anything too bitty or shticky, which I could understand to an extent, but also that's kind of where that was our bread and butter. He's the guy that doesn't know fantasy football and the ex-comedian. I was hoping that he was really going to pull his weight with some of the scripted stuff, with some of the jokes.
Are you saying ex-comedian after the Deshaun Watson jokes? Or did
his words, not mine, right? Yeah. But it was one of those, I'm like, we should lean into that. And that's where I thought our idea was like, it's a bit, but we don't have to be this giant salesman. We could tone it down, but when we recorded, that's kind of what he gave with me. And I didn't hate it. Like everything with Zach, like he is good on camera. He's good behind there. But like I had to do so many cuts, so many edits, because we did record it live, us going back and forth. But because we recorded his idea first and then my idea, he didn't have a full script written for mine. He kind of had to
Gotcha.
improvise it. So then when I'm having to go and do cuts post, I had to re-record some of my spots so that I reacted appropriately to what he changed it up.
So I was going to ask that because you saying that right now, I was surprised that you guys were doing that live. I almost thought that he had recorded, then you had recorded. So
We did, and then I had to throw out everything that I recorded, and I had to re-record to match the footage that I had of him. And by that time, it was already Saturday, going into Sunday. I knew I had plenty of an uphill battle as far as just like the cutting of it, producing the graphics, all that shit. So like I just that's what I had to work with, and that's what I had to pull off. So like.
Yeah, I got to tell you too, as someone who was just like a consumer of it, and maybe Pete can talk to this too, I was a little bit surprised that you guys were in the bottom, just because of the reaction after your video was out. And I guess you already knew because you knew of the prisoner's dilemma before the recording. But I kind of, as they were reacting to it, I thought you guys might have been safe.
Yeah, I might have to go back and watch some of Pete's stuff because he was talking about that. There's obvious tier breaks here. Come on, I'm closer to third place than I am Alex and Rambus. So, like, is it obvious tier break there? Come on. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are the numbers here, Hartman. I don't know what to tell you here.
I mean, yeah, my 6'9's closer to that 7'6" than the 6'1".
Well, here's the thing. We were always going to get down to 10 people in this
okay.
episode. So that, I mean, okay, maybe there was a scenario where every submission was just a fucking 10 and we're like, oh God, what do we do? But here's the thing too. Like, we've been very explicit about this. Like, this show is going to end by the end of July. Like, there's just too much stuff going on in August.
Sure.
I want to get the winner. So we do have an aggressive timeline. And this is what makes the show, I think, exciting for the fans and also really hard for the contestants. Is like every cut at this point is going to be really hard. And specifically these cuts on the bubble in challenges where judging is arbitrary and at the whims of, Silva thinking about naked women inside Magic City. Like, that shit happens. And so, yeah, I mean, the best we can do is take these scores and then try to parse it accordingly in the most fair way.
Yeah, I think just about every group I talked to, every stream I was on this past week, everybody thought it was going to be 4 or less on the cut. So when we started breaking into that, oh shit, we're cutting more than 4, I think everybody's asshole tightened a little bit.
I agree with you, though. I do feel like, again, as the consumer, it felt like you were closer to those that went through than you were to the obvious cuts. Like, I do think you guys were closer in that way.
And by, if you just, so like, there's all kinds of different ways you can slice this. Like,
For sure.
You look at the like votes that carried swing. So obviously the Silva 10 on Mitchell, that was a huge swing vote there. If you can mess with that number and it sinks their score pretty quickly. The Levitan score to Cups and Rand is a huge swing, higher score there, vaults them up. We had the lower score on you and Zach. The submission for me, it just felt, I loved, like, once I saw the overlay in the premise, I was in. And then, similar to what we were talking about with Mitchell and Goofy, I just wanted you to play it straight from there. In the same way, Squares and Farley, they had their premise, then they played it straight. I was like, you did all the hard work. You did the creativity. Now talk about stacks, talk about correlation, talk about why they're going to crush in 2026.
I will say I spent so much time trying to pivot from ideas and figure out and put it together that the script probably got the least amount of attention from me.
Well, sorry, no, keep going.
Oh, that was really it. Just like, I spent so much time on everything else trying to prop that up that, I do wish I could have spent a little bit more time on my script.
I was going to ask, like, because you were mentioning how there was a lot of ideas being thrown around and you're like pivoting, apparently because of like a language barrier with Canadian Shark Tank versus the United States Shark Tank. But could you guys start feeling a little of the stress as you we're like, fuck, we don't have an idea. We just need to settle on something so we can make something. Was that starting to ramp up a little bit?
Oh, 100%. Everything I was throwing at him, he couldn't get on board, and I feel like everything he tossed out of, it looked like Stefan Diggs condoms. I was poking holes in everything, it was absolutely ridiculous.
Okay, so just so everybody's on the same page, the Watson joke we're saying no go to, but Stefan Diggs we're okay with. Is that what?
Hey, that's relevant. Come on, past 12 months, baby. He's probably dropped another kid while we're talking on the stream.
No.
Well, Hartman, because we are gonna, bring on some of the other exit interviews.
Yeah,
here.
I'll stay on. I don't mind.
No, that's not how this works, brother. I don't know if you've seen those shows, but you got to make room on the couch.
Dude,
right?
you can't vote him off twice in the same day. Come on.
I do generally want to know because, like, I agree with a lot of these comments. People nonstop talk about your voice. You have this incredible voice for radio. I guess you have a face for TV too. He says your face is too good for this, but like, because I didn't really ever get to learn more about you. Like, I know you do the movie podcast stuff as well. Like, what are your goals in this space? What are you kind of hoping to, parlay this kind of stuff into?
I quit my job a couple of years ago to get into something within this space, whether it's like football, fantasy football. Football is my number one passion. So I'd love for that to be the avenue. But like, I've just, with the risk of sounding vain, like people seem to just like me entertaining. Like I'm naturally introverted, but like, I was always the storyteller, the drunk storyteller there at college parties. I like to elevate things. I grew up military kid, so I had to make an impression quickly. 6 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, 3 high schools. I had to make friends quick. Wow. So I have to draw people in with charisma, with charm, and that's ultimately what I want to do. I just want to entertain. I want to bring people the things that I like, the things that I'm passionate about. So whatever avenue that finds myself in, something within that. COVID ruined me for just the job I was doing. I was absolutely miserable, and I'm like, no, I took a safe job because I went to school for sports broadcasting. They said radio was dying, so I took a safe avenue, and I'm like, fuck that. No, I want to go do something that's gonna make me happy. And damn it, if I don't have a good time sitting here cutting it up, talking ball, talking movies.
That's awesome, man. And I mean, like, as we were saying too about, like, as we were nitpicking some of this stuff, like, we're at the point where everybody that's doing this is good. So it's not like, yeah, you got to start eliminating people, but definitely keep making some stuff, because if people are just saying you only sound good, you also do look good. I saw a comment that was like, you look like Homelander's dad, which I think is supposed to, I think that is a compliment. So it's like a little problematic, but it's a compliment. But definitely keep doing this stuff, because it's, again, we're at the point where no one is getting eliminated because they suck at this point.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, will you give the concrete plugs on if people want to follow you? Obviously, the Twitter and the YouTube's, the podcast. Make sure people know where they can follow you, and I'll include that in all the show links here.
Yeah, it's most everything's run up through my Twitter at @too_much_Brian. It's too much. When over the top's not enough, that's what you get here. I got too much fantasy football, too much movie night. We dabble into too much trash TV. It's just a daunting task to do Survivor and Big Brother. But it's anything where you're looking for a laugh, looking for a good time. That's usually where I'm at.
Do you have, as you exit to being eliminated, do you have a dog in this fight, a horse in this race going forward?
Or are you just going to hate watch the rest of the way? Because I would also appreciate that too.
Hey, I seem to have to do that just in about every other show. Survivor, as soon as Sari got cut, I was hate watching the whole time. I love talking shit. That's something I walked out of college with a degree in. It was shit talking. So, he seems to be one of the favorites through most of it. Alex Cups, he looks like part, he sounds like part. We've got a handful of guys that are really entertaining, but I think as far as hitting more of those things that we want to hit, I think he does the most of it. So I'm rooting for him. But Michael O'Hara, soft spot for him as well.
Okay. All right. There you have it. Well, Brian, this might be the end of the road for you on So You Think You Can Tout, but certainly not the end of the road for you with content. I'll be following. You got a fan in me. I know you got a lot of fans in the chat, and excited to see what you do next, man.
Appreciate it.
Good chatting, man.
All right, Mike, up next, I have in the hopper here our first duo who got eliminated. Hartman was obviously eliminated as part of the prisoner's dilemma. Zach is advancing because of the betrayal, because that's how the dilemma works. But this is our first duo who got eliminated via just the quality of their submission. It is Chad Candles and Trevor Glisson here. One of which, Mike, is wearing funeral attire.
Dress for a funeral. I can appreciate that. How are we doing, fellas? Let's start with the funeral, man. Trev, how are we doing, Trev?
Not good. I have a couple qualms I would like to share with the crowd, but I'll let Chad say. How you doing, Chad? You okay, man?
I was gonna wear my Scatabo jersey and put like Jan 6 in the background, like we're taking this thing back. But I was like, no, I don't. Bits did not work, so I'm not gonna try another one. I don't want to double down.
Trev said the bits didn't work, and Trev said, "Hold my beer. I'm showing up tonight doing another bit."
Yeah. Listen, if 90% of the contestants thought it was bit week, I think it's the email's fault, not our fault.
You said to be creative, and then you didn't. So, and then you just. I guess we tried to be creative and just failed miserably, which is fine.
I would also like to point out, we were told this is a exit interview, but I can't rule out the fact that we're going to get judged next week as if we're applying for a job. So the suit kind of goes both ways a little bit, so that's good.
I just wish you guys brought this chemistry to the video. This is fantastic, guys. Yeah. This conversation right now.
Look, if we would have been instructed to do so, we may have. I understand the assignment now. So.
But Trevor, this is actually a very good example, and it's one of the things we talk about with Week 17 correlation, and people want to be choosy with how correlation works, and they're like, we don't like this game. The correlation works in both directions, right? In the upside scenarios, in the downside scenarios. If everyone else did bits too, then guess what? We were judging who had the best bits. So you haven't addressed how your bits stack up against the other bits.
We didn't think everyone would do bits. That's why the opening was the bait. We're like, I'm Chad Candles. And we're like, oh, and then they're like, aha, it's not actually a straight up video. And then it's like, we're watching. I'm like, this is the 5th damn bit. Like, I totally read the room wrong.
I don't know if you guys
and we're just like done by the time they got to our submission. They're like, I'm sick of these.
And the worst part was while it was showing our submission, the live chat just going crazy. Like these guys crushed it. I'm like, yeah, like we are kind of crushing, and then it just ended immediately after that.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think's really hard when you do a bit like that, especially when you have to sustain it for 4 minutes, is like you definitely find some like peaks. Like you guys had the like jokes in there, like there were some bits in there that were really fun. Like I obviously all of a sudden you're in a different country, that's gonna land. Like I thought the introduction, Trev, to what you were doing worked really well too. But then that has to continue to, if that is what you're gonna do, that has to continue to heighten for the full 4 minutes. Otherwise, then we're gonna be like, oh man, we're not reaching the same height that we were at like 2 minutes ago, you know?
I viewed it kind of, well, I agree with what you're saying. I'm not like trying to naysay. I think we were trying to show we could do a lot and we failed. Like I wanted to show we could do like an intro. He could explain stacking. Then we do our bit and then we kind of like bring it back with us talking. I guess we just didn't have enough time to show the chemistry. And I thought we were able to hit that at the end, but I think we just tried to do too much and just didn't do enough of everything and it didn't work. But like we were trying to show we could do a lot of things. Like we'd do voiceover, we could deliver a monologue, we could bounce ideas off each other, and then we got like a 4 from you guys. We're like, oh,
it was tough when I thought we had the challenge was it was open ended, creative. So I went bit, and then Levitan's like, well, he dinged us because this is not going to sustain over a 17-week season. It's like, dude, if you wanted a weekly segment, we could have done that. Right. Yeah, so I think there was just some confusion there. And I also think, and obviously I have 0 experience and 0 credibility, so my opinion doesn't mean much. But as far as like the variance thing goes, like, is there a situation where it's too much variance? Because you have the twist, you're going to lose a fan favorite in Cups or Rambus, and you almost lost 2 favorites in Goofy and Mitch. Like if that video would have ended in front of a Chili's, like they're done, right?
Those
so like, I feel like all of these things kind of came crashing down when you could have cut one of these guys or one of us later on.
You guys are you're in an emotional state right now, and I get it. But
Yes.
what you're just saying is, why doesn't Pete pick his favorites each round and eliminate his lesser favorites?
Okay, well,
guys, I don't need to do a show for that. I could literally go have you all submit, rank you, and say these are the people I want to do a show with. All that. The game is the game. The challenges are the challenges, and the judges are going to give their scores. What is the point of bringing Silva and Levitan on for their feedback if we're not going to use their scores?
I think it would have been better service to Silva, Levitan, and all of us if we knew it was them, because then they were watching bit videos that like they didn't seem to like really enjoy.
They look at the scores. They liked Emo 7.5, all bits. They liked what was the other one they liked? Hartman and Zach. They gave 8 and 7. Like some of these bit ones they did like. So you can't blame it on the bit thing or the judges because they did like some of the bits.
The sentiment of the whole challenges matter. Do they? Because first of all, like the emails are ambiguous, so we don't care that much about the challenge if there's not like that much clarity. And also, in the first challenge, the locks, the people that crushed it, they got a bye week. Me and Jerry, we were 2 of the 3 best challenges last week. We have no rollover averages. Like I don't think we're getting the best all around people. And we almost lost Mitchell.
Rollover averages?
I don't know, man.
It's Survivor. Why did I get my immunity idol for last week to also count for this week? And why was I doing a balancing thing last week? And then
the challenges matter.
Hey, I'm going to take over for a sec. I am the official host of this show. Just real quick, I just want to put this out there that you guys were fucking named like the nicest guys in this contest, and then in your exit interview you're like, oh, excuse me, Pete, I would like to can we look at the rules for a second, Pete? Like this is incredible. You guys were too like, yeah, we're like the softies.
No, we failed. We're not saying
I
we
gifted that nice guy mantra for no reason.
We could have done better, but I also feel like it felt like there were like 5 or 6 videos that were really close, and it was just kind of the whims of whatever separate.
Of the judges? That's
It-
what
it does
judges
make you-
do.
it
They
does make
act
you
on their
think, though.
whims.
The judges
If
were
Chad would
judging
have
us on
taken his family vacation to the red light district, we would have smashed. Like we would not be here right now. Like
You know what I will say? If you guys had gotten through, I don't think I would have had a problem with it. So to your point, like I get what I'm saying. It's to your point. Like I thought all of the bits were the same in my mind, where I was like, all of the bits were like, oh, this is a fun premise that nobody did anything with except for Tony and Neil. Like I thought Tony and Neil, they set up this premise of a bit and then they like followed it and showed what they were going to do.
So-
like this is how it's content. Where everybody else, I was like, here's an idea that we did not really expand upon. So I like, and that's not, doesn't feel like a compliment, I'm sure, as I'm saying it, but I mean, I would have I didn't think you were that far away from the other bits.
This is what I want. Like, it's so much easier for you guys to hide behind saying like, oh, it was ambiguous, whatever. Look at these submissions and tell me which ones you guys were concretely better than. Because that's what you actually need to do, because we were cutting 6 people.
They didn't talk about football.
Agreed.
No, go ahead. Who?
The Goofy Chicken submission with Deagle.
Okay. Yeah, and we gave it a 5.3.
I'm not gonna lie,
It was
the
4.3.
the
We at least
Squares and
talked
Farley
about
stuff.
football.
Like we haven't heard from them at all. Like they've been signed on this competition, and my fiance was watching with me, and she was like laughing. She was really enjoying the bitch. Farley and Squares came on, and like I think she just left the room. Like this was before me and Chad even came on. She completely checked out. So I thought
Does your
theirs was, like, a
fiance-
little boring?
Does your fiance watch like
What?
the other fantasy football videos though? Like the
Yeah, all this.
Yeah,
not
yeah.
even a little bit.
But
No.
listen to your guys' things. Chad just said, how could you vote for Mitchell and Goofy? They didn't talk any football. And then Trevor just said, those guys talk too much football. So which is
But
it,
Pete, you
guys?
have to
Which
understand,
ones
that
were you
doesn't
better
fit our
than?
narrative, Pete. That does not fit our
yes.
narrative.
I have to expose
We're
it because
angry. We're angry because we got cut. You're expecting us to make coherent arguments.
this is the thing I will say, and is such a testament to you guys and how upset people are. It's they like you guys so much on camera. Chad, people fucking love watching your streams every morning, and for good reason. And the fact that you guys had an objectively subpar submission and people are this fired up that you're leaving is such a testament to what you guys can continue to do and build upon. Because full stop, it was a subpar submission. It was bottom 2 for us, for each of us individually, for Silva, for Levitan. Like full stop. That's 5 different data points across our production team, Adam and Silva. Bottom 2 submission. People are upset because they like you. And that's a really, really good thing for you guys.
Yeah.
I do think though, if that email
fair,
just would have had one sentence that said, "I want to see your on-camera chemistry," just one little like, "Hey, we're looking for on-camera chemistry."
Trevor, have you
Me
been
and
listening to the Mayo feedback and the stuff we've been talking about in every show?
Also, respectfully.
Okay.
What else? Why
did
would they
Mayo-
pair you with somebody? Why would they pair you with somebody if they was not to learn chemistry?
to collaborate, and like the Mayo stuff was no bits. We did the player take stuff last week. I thought it was bit week. I thought the floodgates open. You guys like it's bit week. After bit week is over, then we're locking in on the serious stuff. But I guess that's on us.
Bit week is funny. I do. You guys should do bit week.
I thought we just did. I don't know.
You did.
Look, I appreciate you guys. We messed up. We could have done better. You're right. 5 people didn't like our video. I'm sorry. Like we tried to be funny and it wasn't. Like that's a risk of like trying to be funny and failing, because I think we failed for you guys. True.
We were talking about this at the top too. Like this is also a specific challenge. So it's like, I mean, yes, maybe this challenge didn't work out, but I think, and as Pete was saying, like this doesn't speak ill of you as content creators. Like this is just like a specific thing that didn't land. Like clearly you guys have chops and the ability to do this stuff. So like definitely continue to do it. But yeah, it seems more like the challenge didn't land, I think, is kind of how I would approach it.
Honestly, like my read on it was exactly what Trevor said in his confessional. I truly think if you guys were able to like be at home, get a more cohesive look either to a bit or to just doing a more, on-camera thing together, showing your rapport, I do really think it goes different. It like the submission, to Mike's point, it felt really disjointed. It was a lot of things thrown together in isolation, like Chad Stonehenge clip, just like by itself. Like it's a very funny clip, but the whole point was like getting on the same page, having a cohesive thing. Emo and Nathaniel, that was a very over-the-top theatric bit. but it was very cohesive and it felt like the same thing the whole time. Same for Mitchell and Goofy. And I think it was the disjointed nature of how your stuff came together that made it feel lesser than the other ones.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, and
Oh,
not
no.
and not
I
in
don't
a,
have
whether
the
that's
humility
fair.
to say that.
I do like that you guys came in hot like this, though. I did not expect this. I thought this was gonna, like, especially with you dressed all in black. I thought this was gonna be a moment of like memories and some Sarah McLachlan playing in the background, but instead it was Rage Against the Machine.
No,
Yeah, it's a little tough because I feel like I left a lot of the table.
my family vacation doing this, and then I got cut. So it's, I got a little fire here.
Good. I love it. I love it.
For me, like the internal team, like you guys use, I'm the only contestant where y'all use both of the entirety of both my confessionals. So I was obviously doing something right that you guys liked and could work for the show. So getting cut on a week where it's like, it's a duo week, no offense to Chad, because conditions never perfect, but my partner was out of town. The ambiguous email, which I'll just never drop, by the way. Like, that's the reason we don't suck. It's just the email. It's not us, right? Like, it's just the email. So it's tough. It's tough. I was going to drop the most fire nickname video tomorrow for the contestants. I was going to call Emo Cowboy Ego Cowboy, which is hilarious. And now it'll just never see the light of day.
Jesus Christ. No, you got
Are
caught,
you trying
man.
to make your case to still be on the show, or should we have asked you earlier with these jokes, Trevor?
I just got so upset, man.
Yeah,
I like
it's
you.
not very
You guys started winning me back over, and then you said "Ego Cowboy" being like it was
Ego
like a mic
Cowboy's
drop.
a banger.
It's not.
Ego Cowboy's a banger. That's a banger.
It's just
That's a banger.
it's no.
Travis Goof is harder. It's, I don't know.
Let's see here. Yeah, I'm sorry. Tony Squares in the chat. I'm sorry Trev's wife didn't like my football take. So there you go. I mean, your wife, we got to give her credit, man. She made a cameo in this video after the submission cameo. Of course, got the reference from Mayo. So shout out, Trev, to your wife, along with Nathaniel's mom, bringing a little bit of the female persuasion to the show.
Also, just so you guys know too, because it's been referenced a couple of times, I'm not a part of the voting community. All right.
Oh,
so
he is. Mike.
No, I'm not.
Like, get these fuckers out.
I have no production. No. I have no production votes in there whatsoever. So just know. I'm just yelling on them. I mean, you still wouldn't have gotten through, but
I think
don't have a vote.
And I think that's also interesting too, of like, one of the things we've been talking to people about, like how to play to the strengths. And I think, Chad, obviously with your streaming and what you're doing, like you're finding what works for you, people are resonating with it, etc. I'm curious, Trevor, like where do you want to go from here? Because you better not stop making content. We talked on After Dark or the other day on the Bash that you're working on the book. You're clearly a creative guy. This has like been your first foray into doing fantasy content. Like what are the kind of things you want to do after this content wise?
Yeah, so it is tough to say that because like my mind is so sporadic. Like I could go down this rabbit hole and make content all summer, all football season, or in a week I could be like, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm gonna pick back up the book, or I'm gonna get into this, get into that. So it is kind of tough to say. But dude, I had so much fun making content. Like that was the big thing for me. Like even with this video that I thought was great that y'all hated, I had so much fun filming it and like editing it. It's like it's just a good time. So I'll probably still do some streams if anyone will have me. Me and Nick Hedgelin have a show on Thursday that we're gonna keep doing. And yeah, so it remains to be seen, I guess.
And I'll say, Trevor, too, like, and this is kind of like, at least from my read of you throughout the process of the show, I got to know you the most outside of the show submission stuff. Like when I'd listen to you do some of the stuff with Mitchell or streaming, like every time you were in long form, I enjoyed your vibe. Like you were a good hang. I like to hear, like you played off of people well, you listen, you're not just trying to, hammer home your own thing. And then for the contest, everything was kind of like over-indexed as a bit. And that I think was an interesting dichotomy. And one of the things that makes this so hard, and I keep referencing him because I think he's great, but like Max Adam, the same thing where it's like, I see the potential, but then like just what we saw on the show didn't match up there. And so, part of that is we're going to have streaming challenges down the road, right? Like, I think if we would have gotten to that point, both of you would have excelled in those environments, but the show is going to throw a lot of stuff after you. And so I just want to say, like, I would continue to lean into that because your on-camera stuff, when you are just being you, is really strong and compelling.
I totally agree too. 'Cause I mean, I have watched both of your, more again of a football cash, but have been consuming both of your guys' content. Trev, you, Chad for a little bit longer, but Trev more recently, and have really enjoyed the stuff that you guys have been doing. So definitely keep firing it. Again, yeah, this is more of a specific. Like I referenced the comedy challenge recently, where it's like you were asked to do a thing and it just didn't land in the way that it might have for other people, even if you disagree about the email that went out. But it's still, you guys are still in good space, and you got both like the microphones, the thing that I was talking about before. Good audio. That's what I'm looking for here. Good audio.
So yeah, I mean, same question we were kind of asking Hartman. Do you guys got a dog in the race? Are you gonna endorse someone? It sounds like Trevor and his wife might hate watch or not watch altogether. Yeah. What's it gonna be like?
Mitchell is going to the end. No one deserves it more than this guy. He's got the production, he's got the ball knowledge, he's going all the way. And if it's not him, I'll probably just hate watch.
PPR Tyler. Yeah. PPR Tyler all the way. He's got it, man. He deserves it. He works. Deserves is not the right word, but I think he's I'd love to see him win.
In chat, I know I just asked Trevor that. Obviously, you're going to keep streaming. You know, what are kind of your personal goals for it? Is it something where it's just like, hey, I like the consistency of it? Is it something that you do have bigger aspirations for? You'd want to do it in a bigger capacity? Like where does that fall for you right now?
Honestly, Pete, my goal one day was to join a larger content creator, like the Deposit Kingdom, like bring my channel there. You know, just for example, or someone like Davis or Flock or whatever's out there. Like I would love to just be kind of a regular as part of someone's, you know, thing. I would, you know, it'd be amazing to be able to do my own thing like Mayo, but frankly, I think he, you know, people like him, like you are it's very difficult to be that person. I don't know if that's me, but I feel like I really could bring like this morning show that I do that I think people like, that I really like doing. I think I'm best in the morning. Like, I think that's like when my kind of show really works, like what I do, like the banter with the chat and everything works the best. So I'd love to keep growing the channel so that I can have something to offer to another content creator and partner up, because that's really what I want to do.
It's so funny because Chad had me on his stream for a couple times in the morning, and like the reaction was kind of like, yeah, Trev, you're fine. Like I kind of just missed my Chad one-on-one time. Like it's like, you're great, but like I kind of just want my Chad back in my morning routine.
Dude, that's such a, like, not to go on too big of a tangent, we're going to bring Rickadoozle on here in a second. Is, you know, I've talked about this before when I do shows, and I'm sure Mike feels similar, it's so fun to have like new guests on. Like it gives the host like new energy and you have different things to play off of. But I've realized that with an audience, it's why I've standardized Best Ball Breakfast. It's why I've done the show with Jam to Win every Friday now for 3 or 4 years. Why I do the same guest there is because the audiences do end up gravitating to the most consistent thing. Like same with ship chasing. It's when those 3 are on, when those 4 with ADP chasing are on. And it's a weird element. But the one thing, Chad, I would say to that, I think that's a good goal to have. But I also really think like what you're doing and serving your audience right now, like if you just use that as your goal, what do people like about me? It's the consistency. It's how I talk about things. Like keep leaning into that. And then all the leverage is going to be your own, right? Like you're not going to have to ask permission to be on something. Like I'm going to come to you and say, fuck, I need Chad to give me a lead in into Best Ball Breakfast because he's assembled such an army. And now I'm worried about him cutting into my viewer. You know, like
we stop at 10. We have a hard out at 10 a.m.
No,
always will.
But I saw some of those jokes. I loved it. But that's what I'm saying is like, you keep doing your thing and those opportunities will come. You don't have to ask for those permission for those opportunities.
I appreciate that.
All right, Trevor, Chad, appreciate you. Everybody loved getting to know you guys. I knew Chad a bit before this. Love Chad, but Trevor, it was great getting to know you through this process as well. From a bit submission where I was like, who the fuck is this guy, to really, really loving your on-camera stuff. So thank you guys both for making it this far. Really appreciate it.
And thanks guys. Seriously.
I love that you guys, just to reiterate, I love that you came in with this energy here for this. I did not expect this. I'm walking away with more respect. I enjoyed this just immensely that you came in and yelled. This is A+ stuff. So looking forward to checking more of your stuff out. So thanks for hanging with us tonight.
Hey, thank you.
All right.
See you guys.
Later, guys.
All right. Mike, let's bring Rickadoozle on. I want to give Rick a little one-on-one first, and then we'll bring Jerry on. Both of those guys together, but awesome. Rick was such a huge part of the show at the start. starting our own beef, I do kind of want to talk with Rick about his journey here on the show.
Hey guys,
What's going on, man? How are we feeling today after consuming the episode?
I processed pretty fast. I recorded something right after it with Mitchell. It's going to drop tomorrow. Pete, just know that I didn't process at that time when I dropped that.
Wait, so did you have a similar reaction to what we just did here with Chad and Trev?
Yeah, I tried to keep it constructive criticism, but I'd let it rip without using a lot of expletives. It's coming on Mitchell's channel tomorrow.
We will look if people were getting eliminated from this show and truly didn't care, we would have failed massively. So the fact that you guys care, the fact that you guys wanted this so badly, and I don't know about Mike with auditions, anything in life, like there's an element of playing out the scenario in your head where you get something.
Yeah.
And once you've done that exercise, there's nothing worse in life than getting rug pulled on it or not actually achieving it. It's a very, very tough thing to grapple with.
Well, yeah, I mean, the scores kind of like told the whole story there. I mean, after kind of processing it, I was like, dude, we lost the plot, man. Like we had a lot of fun with it. And I have my arguments similar to what Chad and like Trev said, but really just kind of seeing that over and over again, I'm like, no, we lost the plot. And I think it's pretty fair.
What was the process like coming up with the idea and then it turning into like what it was? Like, was there a lot of back and forth, or did you kind of like grasp that first idea and run with that? How did we land on it?
Yeah, so me and Jerry was an interesting pairing. Obviously, we didn't have any overlapping time during the week. I worked 8 to 5. He worked 6 to 2. So we knew we had to do on the weekends, and we knew we had to record our own parts. But I was really tuned into the show, right? A lot of big guys made the initial submission. A lot of big guys made the cut. I mean, Emo got a mulligan, right? So I think that was for multiple reasons. But I was pretty convinced that the internal team liked bits. And I was like, okay, well, we got to do bits. And Jerry pushed back. He was like, well, if we're going to do bits, let's tell a story and let's be kind of, naturally us. And so like Jerry's a really goofy guy. Like you watch his streams, like he's very wide ranging. He ordered that, German costume on his own, and he doesn't even drink. So like just kind of filling up with coffee and stuff. That was kind of like how he truly was. I do think we ourselves got so into the story of like a young German Jerry and then this sports show that by the time we had the take that we put there, that was the most well-rehearsed take, but we had just recorded on StreamYard for like 3 straight hours after kind of, I had been editing for like 10, 15 hours before that. And so like, you can see it in my face. There's no chemistry. Like there's a little bit of zazz, but I think Jerry was bringing more chemistry in the Rick and Jerry show, and I really wasn't reciprocating. And then, they didn't even watch the end of the video, at which point I was like, yeah, we're cooked.
One thing, because we'll talk a little bit more with Jerry here in a second, but more on your solo front, I wanted to ask, what did you make a conscious pivot to kind of move away from the heel and antagonist? Obviously, you kind of initially got on the radar. The PPR pop, pop, pop is an iconic moment in the show. The After Dark with Emo, iconic moment in the show. That was a lane you were occupying. It seemed like you did kind of realize, okay, I can't do this forever. How do I reinvent myself on the fly? Is that a fair assessment of how you approached it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying. I work a day job. My opportunity cost is similar to Sam Sherman's. I'll just put it that way. It was having effect on my, job and my relationship and stuff like that. And my girlfriend, she was nice enough to like kind of empathize with me, realize how much I cared about it and really support me. But your job's not the same way. So I was like, hey, I can't keep on doing this antagonistic stuff. Like that is me. But like just the fact that people can sit behind their keyboards and say this stuff, come with prepared content, like think for 3 minutes and type stuff. I'm like, dude, I'll fire right at you, man. Like, I don't care. Like, come meet me face to face. Like, but like you put a little bit of booze in me and I'll go off on you. So it's just that it was more like, what is sustainable? Like my time matters a lot to me. And I don't want to have to chase every single comment that somebody says to me. And I would probably have to do that as an antagonist. So I did try to turn face and the bit fell flat on its head. And I think it was better being an antagonist, but I had fun. And let's bring Jerry on. The guy's really brought me back to the old me.
Yeah, I'll bring him on there. I do think that's really interesting. And I think like both things make so much sense, right? Like you forced yourself into lock status by how much you had inserted yourself into the show. You were like extremely good for the show early on, because otherwise it's all rah, 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 everybody hunky dory. Let's see how it goes. And you're like, no, let's get a different vibe to this stuff. Let's get more diverse voices in this. And so not only were you hinting at a dynamic that us as the producers think about, like we didn't want this to be just a best ball bro kind of competition, but then you also brought the drama, and you were such an integral part of the show. And when I look back on this experience, I'll always remember what you brought there. But I also completely sympathize to, it's not fun playing that role nonstop. And eventually, the fans turn on you, or other people you might have to form alliances with might, have been rubbed the wrong way. So it's a hard thing to do for the entire duration of the contest. So I think you were in a tough spot strategically on how to play things.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is when you get to a duo, I'm a team player. Like had I gone with Mitch or had I gone with Emo, we would have gone a completely different direction than I went with Jerry, right? Had I got on with Neil Farley, we would have just ripped, takes and talked about stacks and pre-motion snap rate and things like that. But this is, I think, what fit Jerry and I well and what we kind of enjoyed. And so, I don't regret it. I just think that, yeah, maybe we wouldn't have done so much of bit content had we known the judges and kind of seen the submissions beforehand, obviously.
Yeah, I kind of am glad that you pulled the cord on doing the heel stuff though, because I agree with you that if you are not enjoying that, if that part no longer is fun, that becomes like the bane of your existence, where you're like, I have to respond to all this stuff, and then you truly are like, you're angry. Like I'm angrily now responding. If you're doing it and having a good time with it, absolutely lean into it and have fun with it. But to clock that you were like, I can't do this, man, that would have ruined your brain. So I'm glad you kind of pulled the cord on it. But just again, as a fan, being the guy on the outside, you were my first introduction to all of this. So I appreciated the heel turn early. It's been a lot of fun. I was sorry that you got bounced in the manner that you did, but yeah, I think you would be you'd be the thumbnail on this about this. So you think you can tout? You'd be thumbnail material, I think, based on your performance early.
Well, let's bring on the final person who has been eliminated today. Rickadoozle's partner, a man who delighted us in the tout twist, came on so strong. It's none other than the non-German Jerry. Welcome to the show, brother.
What's up, Pete? Thanks for having me on. Mike, nice to meet you. Rickadoozle, great to see you, my friend.
Nice to meet you. How are you feeling? What was your experience taking it in for the first time and kind of seeing everybody else's submission alongside your own?
I mean, honestly, when I heard that it was Evan and sorry, I'm forgetting their names. Adam and Evan. When I saw it was them, I was kind of thinking we were cooked a little bit, just because I don't think they know too much about the actual contest and all the inside jokes, and that's kind of what our submission was based on. And I kind of had it being 2 weeks later than the last challenge too, I was kind of thinking by that point the bits might be a little overdone and oversaturated and might not hit the same. So I'm not too surprised, to be honest.
Was there any? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Pete.
Oh no, I was just gonna, because I asked the other guys that too. You mentioned doing the bit. Did you guys strategically talk about who could the judges be? What might they want? Was that part of the discussion for you guys?
No, not really. I think we got a little lost in the email, a little similar to Trevor and Chad. Mm-hmm. And we kind of took the ambiguity a little too far and a little too much into the bits. As Rick mentioned, I was pushing back on the bits, and I wish we went into a little more analytical stuff, because my whole thing was the bit before, and I kind of wanted to break out of that a bit. But no, we didn't give too much thought to the potential judges.
How long was this email? Because I didn't get the email, and now we've had multiple contestants talk about the email. I kind of feel like I need to see what the email was.
Yeah, should we pull it up?
Yeah, and then maybe I could weigh in. Who knows? Maybe I'll fall on the sword alongside the contestants here, being like, this is a garbage email.
Yeah, I'll get it pulled up in a second.
I think we leaned too heavy into the word creative and creativity, because I think, as it was mentioned before, bits were hitting. Yeah. And for a duo challenge, we kind of were under the impression that we had to bring a little more than just sitting at our desk talking to each other, incorporate something dynamic to it.
Yeah, I will say too, we talked about this a little bit at the top, but I as the person who was just like sitting back and watching, felt similarly where I was frustrated that everybody was doing bits, but also like putting myself into your shoes, I would have felt the pressure to be like, I can't just turn the camera on from the desk and be like, Goff to St. Brown. That's good. That's a good stack. Like that, So I do understand the pressure of like trying to come up with something and seeing the word creative. I said this to Pete offline, but there's this show that I watch called Taskmaster, which is this like panel game show type shit. But a lot of times you'll see contestants run into a similar thing where they're like, oh, I'm going to actually interpret the rules a little bit differently and do something creative. And then you see like 3 of the 5 contestants do that. And that's kind of what this felt like, where everybody was like almost like overthinking it a little bit and going a step too far. So we ended up seeing very like not similar bits because they were all very different, but everybody with the same line of thinking. And then you're right, because if you were the only ones that did it in that way, it would have like stood out and shined a little bit differently, but instead it was like, okay, we've seen like 3 or 4 of these now, and then I'm sure you felt it as you were consuming it too, where you're like, oh man, shit, another bit.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean, there were some crazier bits thrown out before. I think Rick wanted to lean in even more to the bits, but we compromised on what we did, and at the end of the day, I had fun making it, and it was nice working with Rick.
So let me read this, Mike, and then you can give your
Pete
take.
Is sweating. You can see he's sweating. Pete is sweating this email.
The challenge. I mean, I wouldn't pull it up if I thought it was a gotcha moment for me. The challenge: produce a video together, maximum 4 minutes, on the following football theme: stacks, QB plus pass catcher. That's your prompt. We're intentionally leaving it open-ended. We want to see which direction you take it, how you interpret the theme, and how you and your partner play to your duo's strengths. The format, angle, and creative approach are entirely up to you. And then we say down here how to support it, or how to upload it. And then it will be reviewed by an undisclosed panel of judges who will score each duo's video on creativity and content.
All right. I think it's fine. Email's fine, guys. I'm sorry.
Email's fine. To me, though, when I was, I haven't even watched the full video. I listened to it when I was at work earlier, but it seemed like there was a bit of an analytical bias when like grading it and coming out with all the decisions.
Guys, I just have to break this. Both me and Jerry have ADHD. You give us something this open-ended, we're like a friggin' cat under the Christmas tree, just ripping shit apart. Like, come on. We both have cats. We know that's what it's like.
One of the things I'll say, and it was very intentional in how both the video played, is also exactly the order of how it went with Silva in Levitan. So with Mayo, right, we had too many submissions. Like, I couldn't show him every submission, then go back and have him rank all of them. So it's like boom, boom, boom. Like, he had to see those, and he was kind of like calibrating in real time. Like, what is the array of submissions? With these, I was very intentional. I was like, I want them to watch every single one of them, and then we're going to circle back and grade them. Because I didn't want to show him one and they're like, oh, this sucks. And then they see the whole body of work and they're like, actually, that was that. So I do think it was very fair in that they saw all of the submissions and then kind of graded, okay, if this is what I'm working with, maybe it's not content I'm going to consume myself, but based on this curve, this is the grade I'm giving for these, having seen all of them.
And I think one thing I could have done better is, like, I did not know any media editing. Jerry knew like a little bit, but I was like, hey, I'll do it because I want to figure this out. I knew Mitch was going to be better than me. I knew Emo was going to pay somebody to make it fire. So, like, I think I could have seen in retrospect, like, hey, we're not going to be the most like well video edited bit, and that matters a lot for the bit landing, right? If they don't understand what the process is, if it doesn't look cool, if it's not flashy, it's a lot harder for the bit to land. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point that I don't think was discussed too much in this episode. Really, is just like the only time it was discussed is when someone threw their other partner under the bus, being like, "I did most of the editing." Like, we heard that a couple of times. But you're right, that is like another skill set when you're thinking about submitting these videos. Like, not only do you have to come up with the idea and execute the idea in front of the camera, but then you also have to, like, you know, make it shiny. And that's not everybody has that same skill set. And you're right, like, if you're not going to have that editing capability, the bit has to be that much tighter so it doesn't need the extra fade or whatever the fuck we call it when, like, the image comes in. So that is tough.
In Mike, it's a lot about what we talk about, the difference between stand-up and improv. Like a stand-up set is judged at such a higher bar because theoretically you could have had years to work on these jokes, practice it. Improv, the audience gives you such a longer leash because they literally know you're making it up on the fly. And so then it's just like, can you be real? Can you be natural? Can you be yourself? Can you be a good actor and react off of your thing? And I think that's kind of the difference between, say, what PPR and O'Hara did, kind of bouncing off each other, playing ball. The judges naturally give you such a longer leash because it's like, I could listen to you guys do this for an hour. You're just being yourself. When you do the bit, it's like you could have spent hundreds of hours. You could have paid someone. You could have done this. And so the bar ends up being so much higher for that lane of editing.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback that, but like, yeah, I totally agree that if I saw something that wasn't edited and you guys were clearly just bouncing back and forth, like I'm a little bit more along for the ride versus knowing that I was like, okay, so you guys rehearsed this, you recorded this isn't live, then you edited this, like, yeah, the bar gets a little bit higher for the execution.
Just to be really clear, like I was like, hey, I will, like try to do the editing. I found this sick software. Jerry spent like countless hours basically diving through our like 20 or 30 takes, looking at them over and over again. He spent a ton of time thinking of and producing creative ideas for this. So like the work was done more than equally. I'm just saying, like, I probably shouldn't have been like, hey, I'll video edit it and expect to do better than Emo and Mitch.
No, yeah, I agree with that. And that's the difficult part about working with someone in another time zone in another country too. I'm Canadian. Shout out. But
shout out.
But it makes it difficult when we're not like there together actually doing it, or even able to spend the same time of day because we had such different schedules, and doing a lot of it on the weekend right before it was due. Maybe if we had it finished a little sooner, we would go back, change some things, make the middle part more analytical based, because we didn't even really touch on our whole concept a lot. I still like the concept a little bit. Like we did a specific game, like went with this like German theme, and we talked about the game in Germany. I'm also a huge Lions fan, and maybe we could have gone into the particular stacks about that game and like analysis behind it a little more.
AJ Brown did just get traded to the Patriots hours after that episode dropped. Just saying.
Yeah, but
predictive.
That is true. But the approach we were taking, we were kind of wanting to make something a little more abstract and a little fun. And so we didn't want to get too into the analysis because we're talking about something that hasn't even happened yet. We have no idea. So we want to talk about more about the game, and took like a bit of a step back and like a reporter where you're not going into too much detail in like a 1 to 2 minute segment. You're kind of just hitting like the little points and then giving some nuggets to the people.
Yeah. And I think I'm glad Rohan kind of pointed this out from the email too, that I wish people would have over-indexed on more than just the creativity line, is play to your and your duo's strengths. And I think if we go down the board for any of the duos that were eliminated or the people on the chopping block, is that there were elements of not playing to the strengths. Because like Jerry, like you're a streamer. We loved seeing you react to the Kate Otten twist in the moment. You were like kind of stunned for a half second and then immediately played with it. Rick, I know you know ball so much. I know you're deep in the weeds with all of this stuff. I've even really loved your betting board videos with Blizzy. Like, I feel like you delivering like odds and talking numbers, you're just right in your wheelhouse. And so even though you guys were an unconventional pairing, I do think there are ways to play to those strengths. And what you guys did is you played in a completely different sandbox. Are there ways that could have gone better? Like you guys said, you're all in the same place, different time zones, whatever. Sure. But it was so far outside your guys' comfort zone that then translated to the submission, as opposed to like doing what you guys do best, which we know you guys have ceilings with what you can do.
Yeah, I agree. And we definitely overthought it. That's one thing. I wish we took a little more time brainstorming instead of like committing to a general concept, because we both threw out some initial ideas. One thing I wanted to do is just a little something more dynamic, a little more back and forth, but also entertaining and engaging, kind of like a game. I don't know what that game would be, but I do daily streams, like you mentioned, and I'm brand new to this, but that's what I'm good at. I'm better at improvising. When you threw me the Kate Otten thing, I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, you're just going to give me some shit off the cuff where I can just talk shit and have fun. Perfect. That's what I'm great at. I'll like outperform everyone in that. But like something long, we have a week long to do, a lot of hours. I'll tend to overthink some of those things, and that's definitely an area I can improve.
I want to say too. I'm seeing Purple Yoshi's comment here saying the commercial bit was really solid. That was your submission, right? You guys had a commercial bit.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
was
it was.
Dak Cotton, yeah.
I'll give
go
Rick credit for this. The entire like commercial concept, everything was his doing. It was my idea to put the commercial between like us talking. So I thought it would be a nice breakup and way to like sandwich in some of the bits, but full creative control, that was Rick, and I thought he nailed it. It was my favorite part of the video as well.
That was my favorite bit out of all of the bits. Like only because what I liked about it was like it was basically a wink and a nod. Hey, here's a bit that we're doing. Now we're getting back to the thing. Versus like, hey, this is a bit that we're now going to do for 3.5 more minutes, right? Like it's like bang. Here. Let me show you a shiny little toy. Now let's get back to what we're talking about. And that really worked for me. I really enjoyed that. Again, out of all of the bits, I thought that was like really fun, and I thought the placement of it made a ton of sense too, because you like if you think you're not lulling them to sleep, but if you think they're, we're like halfway through the analytics, whatever we're talking about, and then bang, you get this thing. I thought it worked really well. So it's good.
Yeah.
Stuff.
And Rick, we were just talking about the commercial, and giving you full credit for that. I thought you absolutely crushed it.
Yeah, I heard the bathroom's around the corner. I just got back from a 3-day Indian wedding. It's about 36 hours later. A little bit more comedy for you, but I probably could have used some sloppy glue tie just to stay on the show. I was thinking of bits, and I was just like, let's do a lawyer bit. Let's make fun of emo with like a Texas lawyer bit. Then I was like, Ozempic. Holy shit. Oh, stack it.
Well, and I said it with Sylvan Levitan. I'm like, I could see that as a social media club. Like I've made lots of fantasy football comedy spoof parodies like that, and that stuff plays well. And I think it goes back to the kind of sustainable thing. Or if your entire submission was essentially commercials for different stacking things, then maybe it's like, okay, these, you start to tell yourself, maybe these guys want to write sketches and like they want to do comedy sketches. Obviously, I'm sympathetic to something like that. I think it fell into the Chad and Trevor bucket where it was so disjointed with all the different elements of the submission that it just had a hard time of hitting for all of us that reviewed it.
I think Jerry and I would be great on like a weekly segment, because like the kind of creative stuff that we come up together, if they like, for example, somebody had to explain that Pats play the Lions in Germany in week 10, right? If that doesn't have to be explained, it's like, oh, this is leading up to this week, or this is this concept, this is known. And especially the 4-minute segment, I feel like we had to just fill a lot of time in the middle. If we just have these small bits of like me and Jerry just doing funny stuff on, maybe better editing, then I think we have something there.
And the thing I'm always thinking about with these, and again, the huge takeaway from Levitan and Silva, and, like balancing that 70, 80% informative, 20, 30% entertainment. Like if I were to punch up your submission or give you guys a suggestion on like the wavelength you were on, I'd be like, this idea of peering into the future, like your crystal ball of how things are going to go, is a cool concept, but let's anchor it in reality a little bit and be like, these are our top 5 stacks for the best ball playoffs or the fantasy playoffs. And here's actually, we're going to go into the future. And this is why these guys are connecting. And you're going to talk a little bit about the total, the weather, the game environment. So it's like, there's a bit there, like the bit is you're flash forwarding the future, but you're giving the audience some actionable information of like, no, we objectively think these are the best schedules. Like, I think that's where you triangulate your ball knowledge with your creativity, and boom, it's a 10.
Yeah. The bit has to be a bit, can't be the meat. Right? Like it can't be the meat of the entire video. Like if it is it's like, I think Pete referred to it as the icing or something, or the cherry on top earlier. Like that's what it is. That's what like helps make it different. That's what makes it pop. But if that is like the total focus, it's like it's hard to come around. You also, like something I hadn't thought about till you were just talking about the time frame there, Rick. 4 minutes is tricky too. Like I feel like doing a 1-minute video or a 10-minute video would have been easier, but 4 minutes is kind of like a tough window of time to create something like engaging and showing the chemistry between the two.
I know. And it's, thinking in retrospect of what worked. And I'm pretty sure I heard PPR and O'Hara say that they kind of recorded essentially a 30-minute podcast. They went through multiple players, film metrics, and then they just cut the best one that they liked, the Kyler Murray in the BTJ. And I do wonder, again, we weren't going to put it on a silver platter on everyone how to do this, but like the goal was essentially to see like what you guys could do in a sustainable way. And then you were essentially trying to show us like the highlight of it, because again, like would I liked a 45-minute submission from you guys to really get the vibe, but it's like, We don't have the time to go through that. Silva and Levitan don't have the time. So we're asking you to distill what you guys do best down to a short period. And I realize why that gets distorted as far as like, how do I actually execute it? Because it is tough. We want the long form, the true versions of you, but you have to present it in essentially a trailer manner. It is difficult.
And that's what I was like kind of wondering about, because me and Jerry did talk about this a little bit. We tried to focus on kind of ball knowledge talk and like our background when Jerry had me on stream a couple times. And we kind of disagreed on some takes. We agreed on some takes, had a little 2 QB versus 3 QB takes. So like, I guess what I saw, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that our body of work coming into this challenge, like promoting the show, creating content around the show, that didn't really seem to come into play very much. I mean, for us, it wouldn't have mattered at, a 3.3, but like, say for like Chad Candles and Trev, who have been producing a lot of content, promoting the show, kind of, being in the comments and whatnot. If that were considered more, would that have bumped them up a little bit into kind of, moving on status?
No, like, and that's the whole thing. Like, if I'm going to just put on my fan hat and not my producer hat, like, I want to see Rambus go on, dude. Like, every time I watch that guy, I have fun with it. But like, there's the challenges and there's the judges and stuff. And the body of the work gives us the flavor, and it gives us an idea of who really cares about this competition, who wants to make more, who the fans are resonating with. Like, Rick, you were a name, like, you forced yourself into the conversation. Everyone knew the Toxic Tower guys and everybody, Chad, heading into this. People didn't know you, and you made yourself a name within this competition. I think what was interesting for both of you guys is you were at kind of a crossroads. Like, Jerry had just burst onto the scene as far as getting our attention in the tout twist and having one of the highest scores. And you were at a crossroads with pivoting your strategy and your brand within the contest. And so it was like, how do you guys handle this moment? The Jerry momentum, the Rick pivot. And I think it was a tough combo to pull off. And that's why the trajectory of where you guys were at in the show, like, didn't really mesh together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Rick, we've been asking everybody this. I'll ask Jerry as well. And curious if Mike has any other questions, but kind of curious, where do you want to go from here? Because I think the one thing that's cool, Rick, is you've tried so many things. And like, what do you tell, content creators? Like, throw a bunch of shit against the wall, see what sticks, see what's fun. You've been the antagonist. You've done the market making with the show. You've, done real streams talking best ball strategy. Like, you've brought on, Squares and shepherded him through a DK draft. Like, you've showed range. Where do you want to go from here with the stuff you've tried out?
Yeah. So honestly, I want to focus on my job a little bit because I got to keep that, because clearly fans isn't going to be a job anytime soon. But after I take a little bit of a break to do that, I like the shorter form stuff. Like, I like Twitter. I kind of like posting takes on there. I like interacting on there. Short videos. Like, I took one at the wedding that like got 1,000 like impressions, which is kind of cool. That's, I think, the highest one that I've done without you reposting it, Pete. Thanks for doing that. I think I would really like to do some kind of in-season content with Blizzy around the Broncos. I'd love to podcast with Tony Squares a little bit. I'd love to jump on streams and draft. But like right now, honestly, during the summer, I'm a volume best ball drafter, and I play some high-stakes redraft leagues. So like during the summer, I want to win. Like, I'm trying to win. And so like I have to figure out that time allocation of being on the clock in 200 plus slows on a daily basis versus making content, and what kind of content can I make. I personally think the YouTube game will originate from what I put on, X, and what X kind of, what sticks on X, and then make longer form YouTube content around that.
Yeah, I love it, man. And like, again, just as I hear you talk out, the, realities of your work-life balance and the stuff you're gravitating to, like, as someone who plays best ball and wants to win as well, like when you just told me you're going to be on the clock doing 200 slow drafts, my immediate thing is like, I want to get the Rick quick 60-second daily digest of like, this is what I realized when I was on the clock today. And you're like, I'm actually much higher on this guy than I thought. Or this news just happened and I'm taking Marshawn Lloyd in the last round of every one of my slows. Like, the idea of a high volume drafter sharing their stuff. And I'm not saying that's what you want to do, but I'm just saying like there's stuff there that I think you can play to your strengths and play to the type of format that actually suits your lifestyle.
No, that's helpful. Thanks. One thing I'll just drop right now. Quinshon Judkins versus Cam Scatabo. One guy's doing 11 on 11s. One guy's doing individual drills. You figure it out. Flip their ADPs. Sorry, Scataboys.
Mike, an hour 38 fantasy football YouTube channel stream. We finally got an actionable fantasy football nugget on this show.
And that honestly, that's about the same amount of nuggets we got in all of the submission videos today too.
Jerry, what about you? Obviously, kind of similar to Chad, you've really gotten a rhythm with your streaming. What are kind of your personal goals? Where do you want to go from here?
Man, my number one goal is to have fun. Like you said with the streaming, I started doing this the first day the big board dropped in January, and I've been doing it every single day. I missed a couple days from traveling, but I'm committed to that, and I'm having so much fun with it, getting outside of my comfort zone. Dude, I was terrified to do this when I first started. Before I hit live, I was sitting shitting my pants for the first 45 minutes, almost
like
an hour. I'm just sitting there. And even at the start of this stream, like I get nervous, but I want to get outside my comfort zone, try new things, have more fun with it, and just see where it takes me. Because I got some other ideas too. Outside of streaming, I want to get into like some real life content with football and like break the mold a little bit and try something new. So I have some ideas, going on the street, doing some interviews, having fun, improvising, cracking jokes, and all that. And yeah, I'm so excited to be consistent with it and put myself out there. Because Pete, can I give you a real truth serum?
Yeah, do it, buddy. I'm scared.
So the real truth serum, and I thought about this after the video came out and everything, but this isn't my first time trying to tout. I'm 28 now, and when I was like 15 or 16, I started an Instagram page where I wanted to post about fantasy football and player takes and breakdowns and everything. But after just a few weeks, I shut it down. I was too embarrassed. I was too afraid to get made fun of, and I let that fear rule me. But not anymore, man. I'm a grown-ass man, stepping into my own and embracing my true passions, being a fantasy football dork, and hopefully become a millionaire this year because of it.
Dude,
so,
let's go.
I love it, man.
I love that, man.
Sir.
Dude, Pete and I have talked about this before, both offline and I think on an After Dark. And I think something that's been really cool about this contest, whether people are still in it or have been eliminated, there is like a vulnerability that is required to do this. And I think when you like consume the content, you're just like, whatever, I'm seeing somebody on YouTube doing the thing. But the second you like put on a fucking light and a camera on, there's like that sweat, that flop sweat starts forming a little bit. There's a little stomach bug, whatever. It takes a lot to be able to just kind of do this, as silly as it can seem. So I do think, like, as we've been critical at times in this show, or as you're getting feedback from fucking randos on Twitter, or whether it's Levitan and Silva, like, I do think like there's a pat on the back that is required just for doing this, man, just for putting yourself out there, being willing to fail in front of people. Like you guys were talking about, like editing your own videos, and if you've never done that before, that's way more stressful than anything else, man. I mean, Pete just starts paying people now. He doesn't even edit his own shit. So like,
That's why I just pressed live.
That's right.
Man, like, it takes me back though, man. Like I remember, one of the first videos I edited was when I did the Broathlon with Levitan and Bales, and I came back with all this footage, and I dead ass remember, I'm not being hyperbolic, spending 20 hours at my desk over a Saturday and a Sunday where I just put in two full, and like Lauren's like, what the heck is going on? But I was so excited about the content. And I basically said to her, I had switched from, I think, like iMovie to Final Cut. I was like, I just have to teach myself Final Cut, and it's going to be so painful, but I'm going to do it with this video. But I was so passionate about the content. I was never passionate about editing, never. But I was so passionate about the content. I was like, I'm willing to learn just to make this product how I want. And I do think, like, if there is an element there, whether it's streaming, whether it's making the produced videos, whatever it is, like, your passion will tell you what's sustainable, right? Absolutely. Like if something feels like a chore, if you are not fired up about it, it won't work. Like I am so fired up about working on this show right now that like all the hours I'm sinking into it, it doesn't feel like a chore because it's so fun. And so I think if you guys, it sounds trite, but following that passion will work. And the only concrete advice I would give, Jerry, and I'd give this to any streamers, consistency is important. I've told Mike this too. Consistency is important, but I do really think the way the YouTube algo is constructed right now, duration is way more important than the daily element. Like if you said I had 5 hours of streaming each week, and I understand with work schedule and stuff, it's not always viable, but 1 5-hour stream is infinitely more valuable than 5 1-hour streams. And so I would try to find the longest possible blocks you could do and then standardize the schedule around that. People know Chad's going to be live every morning. People know Best Ball Breakfast is Mondays at 10. Find that window and then push the duration as long as you can, because for whatever reason, the YouTube overlords want you being live for a long fucking time.
And I know he means this because he told this to my face on Saturday. I saw him on Saturday.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate that. And I appreciate that advice. I respect it. That's why I definitely try and go live for longer on the weekends. But I work a shift work job, like nothing glorious, man. I work in a factory making cardboard boxes. That's not my passion. And it's difficult to find time. You know, I live by myself. I take care of my kitties, go to the gym, but I go live every single day. I find a time no matter what. I like to try and do at least an hour, hour and a half, but when I can go longer, I can. I'm almost at 300 subscribers too. I'm gonna do 300 minutes for 300 subscribers. That's 5 hours, like you're talking about, baby. So we're doing that probably this weekend if we can get there. And tune in.
And can I just want to say one other thing, and obviously we're kind of past the point in the contest where you're kind of telling your initial story to people, but like this shit, like we said it, you know, Nathaniel's mom came on After Dark and she was saying like, hey, like emo, I thought was kind of weird at the start. And she's like, I loved hearing that story about his background or whatever. You might think it's cheesy, but like Jerry, what you just told me about like where you work, the story about quitting on the thing, that is the most real to me. It like human you've been in this whole contest. It's not to say I didn't enjoy the bits and your tout twist and all that, but that's the part that pulls on the heartstrings.
That's the thing. I feel like I never really got to show that. And that started with my submission, which is on me, but that was a really busy time. I did not have much free time, but after learning the context of this competition and sort of finding the little grooves in there, that's why I'm a little disappointed that I'm getting kicked out now, because I know every step I would just get better and better as I learn more about it and I get more comfortable just showing my true and authentic self, which is something I'm really working on a lot. So I appreciate that.
Yes. And like, think about it from the production angle. Like we want to tell good stories. And so sometimes the story is going to be beef that Rick manufactured. Rick put it on a tee for us and gave us some really good fodder to make content. But what we want to do is tell stories. Nathaniel's mom coming on After Dark and talking about how she critiques his work and all of this stuff. That's what people are going to resonate with. They're going to remember that. And so those are the things for the contestants remaining. Like, we want to learn more about you, because that maybe it doesn't help you in a challenge, but I'll tell you what, it's what's going to endear yourself to the fans. It's what's going to have people saying, I don't want fucking Jerry off this show. I don't want him going back to making cardboard boxes during the day. I want to see him stream 40 hours a week. And so it's so important to tell your truth and to tell your journey, because it will resonate with people.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I was actually saying to Rick, like, that was my plan after getting like past the stage. Bye-bye bits. This is me. I know ball too. I'm talking a lot of shit. I'm making jokes, whatever, but I know what I'm talking about. I know some ball. So I'm a little disappointed I didn't get to show that side of me. But hey, season two,
baby.
Season 2.
I also just want to point out how different this conversation is than it was with Chad and Trev.
Yeah, Trev is still in the chat right now trying to weasel his way. I can only picture his wife has like a voodoo doll with me right now, and she's just stabbing me in the eyes.
Oh, man. You're not going to say that after you see the video that Mitch puts out where I was in it yesterday. I had some sharp criticisms. But yeah, something you've asked us. Sorry, Pete, I'll let you go.
No, I want to hear you.
No, something you've asked us is like, who do I want to win this competition? Well, first of all, I've kind of mentioned this a lot. I have a high opportunity cost, like kind of like Sam Sherman does. I was never going to take the site credits. Personally, the people that I was going to give them to, it was never going to be Goofy. I already wanted to insure him for $1,000 if he didn't make round one. And then someone that's really actually kind of come close to me and like kind of really warm my heart is Nate. And I know Rambus is going to fucking hate me say that, but like Nate, I just love seeing the arc. And I think your dad's doing pretty well for himself. That's how your mom and you can live the life you live. But I think out of people that kind of like deserve the site credits and like could actually use them and put them to use, it seems like Goofy could really use it and it would kickstart his career. And I mean, if he's really making $375 a month or a week or whatever it is, Nate, you could definitely use those.
Is that what people are talking about on stream? Is that like a different?
You didn't hear about the W2 episode?
No, I missed the W2 episode.
Yeah, everybody said their W2s, and then whoever needed the site credits the most is getting it.
I missed that.
But my OG is Mitch. I want Mitch to win. But yeah, if I'm speaking from like empathy's sake, it's probably Goofy or Nate.
There you go. Jerry, do you have someone you're going to be rooting for here?
Yeah, dude, the guy I just had on my stream right before this, my homie Jaren, Goofy Chicken Fantasy, because just like myself, he's a young up-and-coming streamer, almost at 300 subscribers too. Get him there too, man.
Hell yeah.
I want to see him win. I want to see someone who was like unknown before and really make a name for themselves. Tyler's my boy. I love you, but Goofy, I want to see you at the top, baby.
Love it. Love it.
One last thing I got to get in before you let us out. Rambus says, it is complete bullshit that Cups and Rambus are on the block.
I love it. I love the passion. It's an incredibly tough vote. I think actually I'll let Rick and Jiri go. Mike and I will do a little wrap here. But again, as we've been saying to all the guests, I think it's, pretty obvious at this point. We want to see more of you guys. Definitely. Loved having you a part of the show. Both of you guys have very unique, different skill sets that I know can thrive depending on which lane you choose. So
and it's go and do it. And it's pretty shitty to get kicked off a show and then be like, hey, do you guys want to do like one more show and talk about it? So we do appreciate you guys coming on and talking about the experience. And yeah, looking forward to seeing more of your guys' stuff.
All right.
Thank you.
Peace, guys.
Thanks for hanging,
I'll
fellas.
love Jerry. I'll love Rick. Yeah, so I was going to say we could – so just for people who we all assume everybody watched it, but obviously this vote is ongoing now. It's going to lock at 3:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. It's just a 24-hour window voting in the comments of the show, whether you want Rambus to advance or Cups, and giving a quick reason why. Based on my glance earlier, Cups has a pretty hearty lead. And again, we're going to count every one of these meticulously. But as of now, that is the case. So I will say this, go vote. But if you are a Rambus head and you have not voted, you got to get over there because Cups is pulling away. And yeah, man, it's I don't want to lose either of these guys.
I really enjoy both of them.
Out.
I enjoy both of them a lot. We have I think they both very different skill sets. Very excited to see what they do. If whoever gets eliminated, I'm still going to be a fan of. So I expect Rambus. I'm locked in with whatever Rambus is doing from here on out.
Yes. I just read one comment. Gumby says Cups to prove that fantasy content creators could be handsome.
A+.
Oh, man.
Pete, this is fun, man. So yeah, our plan, I'm assuming this is what you were about to just do, but our plan is to do these on the evenings of new episodes being released, and we're going to be doing them on not on Pete's channel. We'll be doing them on a different channel called About the Touts, and right now, if you subscribe to it, which I believe a link is pinned into the chat, it does look like it's a fake account that is just replying problematic things on X, but it's a real account that will have photos and stuff on it tomorrow morning. But yeah, that's the plan, is to do that every week, and hopefully whoever gets eliminated next episode would like to continue the trend that we saw today, and we'll continue talking through this, because I'm not a part of the voting community. I'm just taking this in real time, and I'm really enjoying it. So I want to keep talking to people about this. So
yeah, Mike is the perfect host for this. I don't know if I probably won't be on all of them. I want to let Mike go, and that way, people like Trevor can really speak freely and talk about how
that was incredible
when I'm not there. But yeah, clearly the appetite is there to continue to talk about this show. So wanted to team up with Mike and make a place where you guys could do that, and we'll continue to get exit interviews. And I will say this, man, they're only going to get harder and harder. Like if you think tonight stuff, like, because it's a combination of not only are the contestants getting stronger and stronger, they've proven themselves, but the audience is getting to know them more and more. That's like, I mean, what's harder, Mike, breaking up with someone you've known for 2 weeks or someone you've known for 3 years? Yeah.
And if you thought like the challenge this time was difficult or like too nuanced, like it's only going to get worse and worse. Like it's only going to, it's
the subjectivity.
Right. Yeah. It's no longer going to be about like, can this person do it? It's going to be like, did they do this specific thing well enough to hang on for another week?
Yeah. And I will say this, we were going to have news tomorrow about what the next challenge is. So there will be emails out to the final 10. There will be details. And then shortly after a social media announcement of what it is. I think you guys are going to be really excited for it. And I'll also say this, like, keep the feedback coming. obviously, if the feedback is just like, I love Chad and you got rid of him, that's not super helpful. But, the kind of stuff where you guys talk about structural things, or like, someone had mentioned, hey man, like not being able to be available for the live vote, like that really sucked. And I took that one to heart, and I was like, all right, let's mix up how we do this vote. And now, okay, 24 hours, everybody who's engaged with the show should have a chance. So I'm just letting you know that those constructive pieces of criticism or just suggestions, we listen to those, and we kind of sift through and like, oh wait, that is a good suggestion. So if you guys have stuff like that, keep them coming, because we're always kind of pulling ideas and figuring out how to make the best show possible.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe you can create a whole segment where somebody reads the email out loud or something like that for the prompt, so that everybody.
The care that I am going to deliver this next email, in the fact that I've already told the production team there might be a sub theme to this that's called all ball no bits, might be the sub theme to this next challenge.
Put it in bold, baby. Put it in bold.
We are exhausted. We need at least a 2-week break from bits. We need it.
But really, shout out Jerry, shout out Rick and Chad and Trev and Hartman for not lying, Hartman for hanging out with us and talking with us today, because that was a lot of fun, and hopefully they've set the precedent of like this is just what you do. This is what you do on your way out.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm gonna put in the show notes Twitter handles, and if they have a YouTube or a place that they're producing content, I'm gonna tag all of those. Please go subscribe to Jerry, follow all of these guys, obviously Chad. I'm going to put all the links down there. And contestants, if you guys have specific things you want to link me to, I'm here to help, ready to get your stuff out in front of the fans who have come to know and enjoy you on this show. We don't know exactly when the next episode will release, but I think, Mike, this is kind of the plan. The evening of the release, we'll try to do an after show.
Yeah, I'll do my best to make sure it's that evening. Sometimes it might be either the day after, but the plan is to be that evening, because I think that's a good time frame for it. I want it to be fresh.
Yep. Also, I missed 2 super chats here, and I would be remiss as a streamer not to pull up the super chats about the Touts Membies only stream. You know what? I made this one available to everyone. I will have an after dark of some sort this week. I wanted this for everybody. It was gated to YouTube members though, so no, you had to be able to pay up to chat at least. And then Emo here sends in 269. I'll have Brian on soon. He's great. Hate that he's gone. Yes. One of the other fun things, not to continue this on, but just seeing everybody collab and cross collab has been so cool across the Tout universe there. So let's keep that rolling.
I swear I thought I had missed episodes of this based on how many other streams, like cross streams, were happening. I was like, oh, did I miss something? But it's like, no, everybody's connecting with each other, which is awesome.
For sure. All right, guys. Well, Mike, you're the host. Thanks for hanging out with About the Touts. If you watched all of this without watching episode 4 of So You Think You Can Tout, you truly have a problem. Go check that out. Make sure you go vote for either Rambus or Cups. We'll be back the next time an episode drops. Drop a like, a subscribe, and then go just click all the links. Click all the links in the description. We'll see you guys next time.